Hi and welcome back to the Dota 2 Champions League Season 5 LAN Finals. We're back here on the desk, this time joined by Kai once more. So thanks a lot for joining us for a quick pre-game discussion. It's going to be the guys from Burden United who just won over NRP going up against VG Gaming, which has been the favorite and probably still is the favorite to win the whole tournament. How do you see the chances of Burden United taking any games or more than one game off from VG?
I mean, as we were talking about earlier, right, the most likely upset would have been Burden United over NIP, that third, fourth position. Vici Gaming losing to Empire, giving us one hell of a surprise, means that Vici Gaming is now going to face up against Burden United. I don't put these two teams in the same class, like not even in the same school. Like they're in opposite districts. I don't know. Like I honestly, I don't want to like hit on Burden United too hard and be like, there's no possibility, 0% chance whatsoever. But it does for me feel like a very distinct outclass to the favor of Vici Gaming.
Do you think that will maybe force or encourage Burden United to go for something very wonky and very cheesy?
I mean, from my point of view, I always like to go into the matchup hoping, since it's a LAN final, it's going to be an even game, right? So you never know what happens. Obviously, Vici Gaming is going to be a favorite for this series, but I still think we can try to even it up and think Burden United is going to have a good shot at this, I think. Other than that, having Burden United now winning against NIP, I think it might give them a decent confidence boost for the upcoming match. Of course, they have a tough challenge, and given that, who knows, they might just YOLO it and find a strat that works for them, given the boost that they had from the previous game.
Yeah, I think there's something that we haven't really mentioned about Burden as well. We've been talking about how patches might impact certain teams. They've switched Necroman and Sing Sing. So Sing Sing's now back playing mid, while in 6.83 for the majority of the time, Necro is playing mid with heroes like Shadow Fiend and Sniper. And I was just talking with Come With Me about this, and the main reason is that, Sing Sing, his playstyle is moving around the map, his map awareness is great. He goes and makes things happen, while Necroman, a little more passive, can farm up on some heroes, and it's definitely shown against NIP. Whether they can continue this running, we'll have to see against VG, but getting up in their face like Empire did the other day, I think that's the way to go.
So a game like VG, obviously they have been most likely watching the games from Burden United. What do you guys think VG as a team took away from what they saw being played from Burden United?
I think that, well, first of all, I think that the playstyle of Empire fits naturally very well against VG Gaming. I'm not sure if the same can be said of Burden United. So they tend to go for a little bit more greedier in their core pick. They don't pick up nearly as much aggression, I would say, that Empire does. They still can be aggressive, but I feel like that they go for like a 3-core or at least a very 2-core lineup, where you've got 3 different heroes, usually 2 that need a heavy amount of farm, and I think that Vici Gaming is most likely exposed to early aggression. So I feel like this matchup is still favorable for Vici Gaming just in play styles. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, though. I just don't think that... I think Burden United need to switch things up from what we saw in their matchup against NIP and try and be a lot more aggressive.
I overall think what Burden United tried to do with giving Sing more of an aggressor hero, such as the Kunkka. I think Kunkka is a very fitting hero for him, where, like we were mentioning, Necroman should probably stick to like a more farm-heavy hero. I think it would distribute the overall composition a lot better in how each individual player like kind of reacts towards the game. I think Sing is a very aggressive player who likes to roam around, move around, like be the aggressor rather than trying to just sit and farm, where I think Necroman is fine with doing either, though I would prefer seeing him more on a farm-heavy / late-game hero, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to go. You do have to worry a little bit, though, about the 2 supports on VG. FY in particular, can they shut him down? Because we saw the supports over in Burden do a lot of roaming in game number 3 against NIP. If they can get into the enemy jungle and shut down FY, then maybe they can look good for game number 1, take a game off them.
So do you think, like, going into the drafts, will VG actually, like, offensively ban heroes out against Burden United? Or do you think they will just basically stick to banning things out they, in general, don't feel too comfortable with?
I would say ban away the Bat Rider would be the first and foremost. Make sure you don't give up first pick on dying. But other than that, I don't think there's anything specific that really VG Gaming need to go for. personally, I would just keep the Batrider out of the Saksha's hands, as well as just make sure that you don't get any really OP hero in the first pickup. I still feel Undying is very much a first pick rated hero.
All right. Well, we'll see what both of the teams are coming up with because we are heading into the picks and bans. So, guys, take it away.
Yeah, welcome, guys. The penultimate, or no, the last best of 3, the lower bracket final here. Burden against VG. Winner of this heads into the grand finals against Team Empire. Let's have a look at what we've got. Burden, they've been picking up some sort of very Sing Sing focused heroes. The Kunkka you mentioned just now, he's pretty famous for that. When he first switched over from Hon to Dota 2, he played a lot of Shadow Shaman, and then he switched into, the Shadow Demon Kunkka mid composition, and that's a hero he's very comfortable with. He showed it off, but I think AA is a hero that's been banned a lot in this tournament, and we've seen it 3 times in the past 3 games. What are your thoughts on that? Why has it been banned and then suddenly left to be picked?
I wouldn't say particularly that A is one of those heroes that, is typically ban worthy. If you see, of course, a team likes to play that hero or likes to play around the hero, being giving it kind of an aggressive factor as well, like you can contest with the hero quite well. It's overall I think a decent hero to pick, but it really depends on whether a team likes it or doesn't like it. I would never say it's a typical, oh my god, I have to ban this hero because he will give you so much value. It's not. It's how confident or comfortable you are playing around that hero.
Especially in Europe, it sort of comes in and out. In China, on the other hand, it is always one of those go-to heroes for a lot of teams. So you can definitely see VG knowing their way around that hero. If Burden do go back for that, they'll know how to play around it, or they'll pick it up themselves. But Burden so far taking out the Undying, while VG banning out Wisp and Earthshaker there. So Earthshaker, a great offensive and defensive support, it's multifaceted. He can play that holding role where he sits behind like a mid laner, stack for him, and increase the farm potential of one of your cores. But he can also be very mobile. He can TP around, move from lane to lane, and make sure that you get that one kill that you desperately need to, push towards a Blink Dagger on one of your initiators, or defend a core like a Shadow Fiend at mid, which we saw so much of in 6.83. Treant and Sniper, Earthshaker and Shadow Fiend.
Shaker is one of those heroes that actually lately grew a lot of interesting feature in terms of offlaning. Like teams value him more on offlane, just because you can block your own wave. You kind of get the lane back towards the tower. So getting experience, for example, such like a Clockwork could get, right, with using cogs and then pushing the creep wave towards your tower. Shaker can pretty much do the same with a Fisher wave.
Oh man, Burden straight out of the gates, Visage and Drow Ranger. The first pickup from VG was the Gyrocopter for How, though. Second pickup for them, the world is their oyster, but Visage Drow, we always used to see this in the second pick phase, just so, you couldn't ban one of them out. But if you start off with this opener, there's no way that the opposing team can go into the second ban phase and say, hey look, they've got a Visage, let's ban the Drow, or vice versa. They've come out strong, but there are ways around this.
I mean, the interesting part is that Gyro is still probably the only counter hero in terms of Visage. Visage Familiars now got nerfed by 1 hit less on the Familiars, which I think was very needed. They were quite overpowered with needing 4 hero hits. But given it's 3, it's a bit less, but I think it is overall an important nerf to the hero.
Yeah.
Other than that, Gyrocopter with a Flacken, I think he still hits, the Flacken shot still hit the Familiars. So it's probably the only hero that can actually interact Familiars passively with spells, right? Where all other heroes now are not, other than hero hits, right? You can't kill Familiars.
Yeah, because Axe Spin doesn't, Bristleback, Quill Sprays don't, I believe. So yeah,
no,
I think
it's only hits.
Only hits now, yeah.
I guess one thing to mention, it could be that VG's opening, given that they first picked Gyrocopter, not only that Burden United likes the hero, as well as they might have anticipated this pick. They might have anticipated a strat such as Drow plus Visage. Overall, I really like the opening of Burden because to me it's a lineup, or like a start for a lineup, right? A Drow strat in this case, that's no matter how good your opponent is, if you don't watch out and if you give Burden United too good of a start, it can snowball really hard.
Yeah, definitely. They start taking tier 1 towers. They are dire side as well, so they can head into the Roche pit and get their advantage that way. Now, the Mirana pick from Burden here, when I first saw that, I thought, hey, that's a block pick against the Shadow Demon, but it's also a Sing Sing hero. We've seen him excel on that hero time and time again. It could still be switched off into a support, but we'll have to see exactly where they position that. VG respond. Shadow Demon and Lina are going to be their support duo, and the way they run this isn't the conventional, hey, we'll smoke up, we'll run SD and Lina around, we'll get these gangs going. They do occasionally do that, but a lot of the time it's FY, getting farm on the Lina, making sure he can head into his core items, while Shadow Demon is that defensive support, waiting for the aggression to come into them, disrupt, and then turn around.
I think what Burden United needs to watch out here is that obviously Vici can still contest with exactly these 3 heroes, right? And Drow in a contesting scenario, in most scenarios, Drow is a really bad hero because it doesn't offer you much, and all you want to Drow is levels. You really just want the 6, and then you're pretty much just a creep giving your other teammates the aura. That's all you need to do. You just avoid any kind of fights, you just dodge them, then you can take Roche at a pretty early pace, but you dodge fights. So I think that Burden United should opt to set that draw into the mid lane instead of trying to put it on the short lane, just giving the 3 heroes that Vici Gaming has here. With these 3 heroes, they can contest, and if they put themselves into that position where Burden United can only put the draw rate onto short lane, where, like you were mentioning, Mirana could be the mid hero for Sing Sing here, right? It's kind of typical. I like it a lot that he gets a hero like this because he can make plays. It's a good choice of a hero for Sing.
Definitely. So we're going to be looking out for defensive warding from Burden to try and keep their cause alive from this this duo here from VG. So does that make counter warding incredibly important in the first 6 or 7 minutes or so from VG? Do they go around with early sentries to try and limit the vision of Burden so they can move around the map more freely?
I would say it actually goes the other way to me. I think it's important for Burden United to counter vision a lot. Interesting pickup here by Vici Gaming with a Brood Mother. They kind of baited this whole scenario of contesting. They're showing off a contesting side, picking up Lina plus SD. They show that they potentially contest, then go into a Brood Mother pick. Very unexpected because Brood Mother now will pressure their offlane, whereas they were trying to kind of like dodge the scenario of potentially getting contested to potentially put the draw middle and just like put a bottom short lane, having the Naga to set up arrows, having Visage to make their tri lane stronger, right?
Hey, look, we might aggro Tri. What are you going to do about it? And
exactly.
Wait a second, it's a Brood Mother. The Naga, though, from Burden, we have seen a couple of teams run the support Naga. Not of late, though. It's been switching back to the Radiance carry Naga. Now that you've got that miss percentage chance on Radiance, it has become a much more potent item. But here, you're looking at a BKB on Gyrocopter. Shadow Demon, Lina, Broodmother don't go for early BKB, so it might be down to the fact that Song, you can solo down and focus the Gyro in the mid game.
Very true. You can focus Gyro, but I think what usually to me a draw strat, which makes a draw strat very potent, is the fact that you just don't want draw to die, right? Because draw, just passively, right, where I was mentioning this creep factor, is draw gives you so much damage just without doing anything. If you're not in the range of any melee hero where the aura gets just negated, right, your entire team gets potentially plus 200 damage by just being there, right? So I think what they should have focused on, because the way to counter a draw is you just rush onto the draw, right? You want to get close in, you don't want to give them the aura, because draw essentially, when your melee range, does nothing. The hero is very bad. It doesn't do much, and I think the problem that Burden right now has is they have no save. They don't have a single save other than potentially sleep. They have a sleep to stop the aggression, but they don't have a SP. They ban out the Shadow Priest themselves. There is no Shaker. Shaker is a pretty good counter. Like you counter initiate slash, you just save your opponent. Yep. In that sense, you have a long range stun. Then the Shadow Demon, which is the other hero that would save in that sense, right, is taken away. And I'm just like, I'm a bit scared here for the draw to not get, get into the game. Just looking at the lanes and picks right now, to me it should be a draw middle. I think it should be a draw middle, just because I think Naga and Potom can still deal very well with a Brood if he does not watch out. One net into an arrow can always be a kill, and you want the draw to have a decent start. If draw is short lane, it could be very risky, because draw can't really handle the hero on his own, and I'm not entirely sure. It's not given right now. It's not given that draw is going to the mid lane. They can obviously still put it the other way around. I just think my preference would be draw middle just for the level factor. You get level 6, you just go in the jungle and send another support middle. Visage could just go middle afterwards and just get that level 6, right? Yeah. Visage makes draw so much, draw makes Visage so strong, or Visage, without even having items, turns into a core just because of the aura factor.
Well, my question for you would be, where does Come With Me go with this Visage? Because obviously the Naga with the ensnare, Sing Sing with the arrow, that's a great setup and stun to take people down. The Visage just throws out soul assumptions. Does he stack? Does he go and sit towards middle lane? Because Shadow Fiend against a Drow Ranger, Drow has a pretty awful attack animation. Sure, she's got decent base damage, but once SF starts racking up those souls, he's got kill potential. The roaming then from Shadow Demon and Lina could make it pretty difficult for Drow to stay there, but I'm not too sure whether the Drow maybe goes into the jungle and, like you said, Visage then rotates in. Do they keep their lanes as safe as they can, safe lane and off lane for now, and just let the Drow get levels?
I mean, if we look at the items on Drow is opting towards mid lane. With these items, he's probably gonna go mid lane. Like you were mentioning, the scary factor is going to be the SD Basina, because they will not leave Drow alone. They will pressure Drow. SF is not generally a hero that can pressure Drow very early. Level 3, of course, you have to watch out. But if Drow just plays passively, every time SF would try to attempt to go up and harass him, he just gusts him and takes a few last hits, walks back.
Okay.
He just gusts him, takes the silence. He's going to be silenced for 3 seconds. He can just delay everything. He will not take a fight. Obviously, SF is going to farm very well out of that lane, but he cannot stop Drow. And all you want is early levels on Drow.
Well, in fact, what we're going to see is probably an aggressive trial in here with the, first off, Rune contest. 4 against 4, Sing Sing going for the bounty, throws the arrow, but it's not going to land onto anyone. Now how, with the rocket barrage onto Sing, he's not going to take him down just yet in the back, though. Necroman damaged down and taken out. First blood the way of Fenrir with Come With Me. Soul Assumption not finishing off the Shadow Fiend, and that's going to be really devastating for them as Come With Me. Right-clicked, Fenrir, one more hit. It's all he needs, and he will get it, as Minuts now has Mirror Image level 1. Has to turn around, there's no ensnare. And VG 3 for 0, as well as 1 bounty rune, as Mirana got 1 at the bottom, Brood the 1 at the top, and it's going to be aggro try tied against the Brood at top. Middle lane, like you said, Shadow Fiend against the Drow, while down at bottom, How's Gyro, FY on the Lina, Fenrir Shadow Demon, and the aggro try of BU, Sing Sing Mirana, Minots on the Naga, and in the rear, Come With Me Visage.
And one thing to mention there on how the fight started is just the great disrupt of Fenrir, because he made Drow stuck. Drow could not move backwards or forward. The illusions were blocking him, so he could not move away. I was like wondering, what is he doing? Why is he just standing there? But he was blocked from, like, he was blocked the entire illusion duration. So, given how good Fenrir is, I would assume he did it on purpose. He did that block on purpose, or given the chance that it could be a block, right? When you're right next to a cliff where you cannot walk away, and I think it's maybe a slight misplay by Necroman there. It's just he was too close to the cliff. It gives you the opportunity to potentially block it. And if that happens, which did, it resulted into a first blood and even a follow-up kill, right?
Now, start off with a disruption to Soul Catcher. The Life Strike rate will land on 2, in fact, as House coming in here. The damage output is insane from VG and Sing Sing with no leap, no escape. And it changes from 3-0 to 5-0. VG with a great start. They're looking for more. Soul Catcher, Rocket Barrage, 1 more hit. Can they find it? Minuts dived under the tower. And VG are running away with this. It's barely 2 minutes into the game. 6-0. It's absolutely devastating for Burden right now. You know, Visage, King of Tri-Lanes, sure. But if they're looking for Ensnare, Arrow, Soul Assumption, Fenrir's Disruption, now going off again. Come With Me's left alone. He's left high and dry, and How drops low, but there's no way for the Visage to actually escape from this.
It looks like a slaughter.
It is.
I'm not sure what to say here. Just how the lanes develop. There's already, you can see Sing Sing is setting up towards just going middle now. He's playing that roaming bottom, hopefully hitting an arrow. I mean, if he can hit that arrow, which is going to be not expected, there might be a chance of coming back into the laning phase just because it's level 4 SF. But he sees it coming. He moves back.
Arrow not going to land. The one lane that's going well for Burden, though. Soxka on this Tidehunter expectedly doing decently against Ice's Broodmother, but still, Brood is 9 for 1, and the Tidehunter's only 5 CS ahead. Middle lane, how's the Drow doing against the Shadow Fiend? She's a few last hits behind. Is this the expected outcome of this, with Super on this SF?
I think mid lane is like, it could have been even, right? Drow died in that engagement, and Super had the first wave pretty much given free to him.
Yeah.
So, of course, that hurts a lot. I think in the very early levels, Drow even has a slight edge, just because Super does not have souls at that point. So, it's going to be hard for him to just get these souls. With Drow having quite a lot, I think about 15 damage more than an SF just at the very start. Other than that, just how the lanes develop now. Like, you can see Minus now being the solo offlaner, just trying to get some experience. Sending illusions into the forest, just trying to scout out the supports so you can get some of that experience. But as you can see, ST is already trying to move around. They have an observer ward there. No, they actually do not have an observer ward there. The sentry ward does not scout that observer ward on the side. So well placed observer ward by Fenrir there.
I just keep looking towards this middle lane. Sing Sing up on the high ground, waiting for that perfect moment to launch the arrow. Necroman, maybe a gust, maybe slow him down with the frost arrows. But in exchange, he's taking these razors to the face. Level 3 razors up on Super, and Sing Sing is just... He's level 1. Sing Sing is level 1 in this Mirana, waiting. Up at top, Broodmother takes down Come With Me, and now Soxka looking for the return, but he's not going to find it, and looks like Super does take an arrow to the back, but do they have enough to actually kill him off? With a haste rune on Sing, maybe they can turn it around, but Super says, okay, I'm going to try and zone you out here. Fakes out the raise, a few right clicks from Sing Sing, plinking away at his HP, but it's not enough damage.
They're forcing Super back to base, but honestly, does it matter that much? He's level 5. He's already at the critical point where he could just potentially jungle if he really feels like. The pressure of a roaming Mirana is that high. But obviously, this is just a desperate attempt by BU to kind of save something. I think it's the right move by Sing, but is it going to be enough to change anything?
Fenrir spots out Come With Me, and Mynuts will run over to him, but How's here with a flat cannon. Disruption to start things off. Good arrow, but not quite good enough as it just scrapes past. Mynuts takes the full rocket barrage. Has Come With Me now caught in a pretty rough position with the Dragon Slave and another rocket barrage. Maybe How is caught here. No, keeps on running. Paris does not have mana for Ravage. He's got a Mango. They're probably
he has the mana.
Oh, he's got a Clarity as well, so he's popped himself back up for a Ravage, but How is running past tier 2, running through the dire jungle, and even if he dies here, he's drawn 3 or 4 heroes out from their lanes. Necroman is giving up mid a little bit to Super, and they're still not going to find this gyrocopter.
He's just making them waste so much time. Tidehunter, from all the way bottom that he TP'd, now has walked back the entire way towards top.
Oh, man.
He doesn't have a level and Gosh yet either, so... I mean, what he can provide is going to be obviously... He has that Ravage to potentially start a fight, but... I don't know where this is heading. I just feel like we just started this game and it seems so... hopeless already for Burden.
It's 2 kills a minute for VG. It's 6 minutes in and they have 11 kills. And I was looking at their hero level now. Last hit, fair enough. It's relatively even, I'm going to say. But hero levels is where you're looking at Sing Sing, the core Mirana, at level 2, 6 minutes in.
And it just was a Ravage top. He just used the Ravage.
Still gets the kill, so the 2-man movement up there, Super, as well as How. Wait, was How up there still from when he ran through the jungle?
It's How just stayed on the top lane.
He didn't run back.
Tidehunter used that Ravage and hoped he would get the kill onto the gyrocopter / survive, but it did not happen. So he wasted the Ravage now and did not get the kill, and the tower falls as well.
So when you're looking at this, do you just sack Sing Sing's role and say he is full-time support now? do you give it to the Naga?
I think if I look at this, I would almost go to base, buy a few chickens and send them towards middle.
Is it that bad? He'll find Fenrir here, maybe an arrow will... Nope, it won't even open things up. He's stacking up for the Shadow Fiend. Mynot's even made his movement through. This Naga...
I mean, obviously, I would... No, I was just kidding about that. But... No, just going into this game, I'm trying to figure out right now what can they actually do, right? Like, they should always think of, is there potential to come back into this? And...
Yeah, I was just watching
the
that.
monster kill for Gyrocopter. I think the comeback mechanism here is that they just feed the Gyrocopter a few more kills and then just kill him once. I think coming back that way could be potentially...
He's 8-0. He is 8-0 before 8 minutes in. It's ridiculous. How has had such a great start in this game?
They were trying to set up something bottom though, but he doesn't have a level in Ensnare.
Oh man.
They cannot set this kill up.
2 in mirror image.
But little did he know, he does not expect that.
Sing Sing has to arrow. No, it's too late. He's gone.
He will just TP out.
Middle lane, what are we seeing here? Is Fenrir behind the tower. Necroman ganged by 3. Super takes a little bit of tower damage, but the Spiderlings from Ice 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 make their way all the way from top lane to help out amid. A little bit of blocking off and then pressuring into the tower as well. So Ice Ice Ice, he's got the option of farming the dire jungle, pushing out the lane. And I think the biggest thing is he keeps Tidehunter here. So often with Broodmother, we see one hero really forced to stay in that lane. And Tide, do you just keep a TP and hope that that VG push into towers so you can TP and Ravage? Or
I mean, I think you should, of course, should have a TP, right, to hopefully kill, participate. I feel like the only chance of coming back for them right now is they have to set up a smoke with a Ravage and hope to kill How. Aim for a big kill that gives you a lot of gold. to potentially come back, right? Then it could be resulting into dagger onto the Tidehunter, potentially. But I think they really have to make something out of that Ravage. They need to set up a kill. There's no way of coming back if they just sit back and farm, because just look at the gold advantage that on net worth right now. You have 3 heroes that double the net worth, almost double the net worth of the highest on Burden United.
Oh man. Right, so Burden, Naga, still buying Observer Wards, a little unusual in the skill build. Come with me, they're still sticking with these support roles, and Sing Sing, Brown Boots and Basilius, while you're looking at FY, he's got treads on this support Lina. He's hit level 6, they've got the Laguna Blade as well, could look for an instant pop onto someone like the Visage, who's relatively low HP, but salves himself up. Good ensnare, Riptide, and Arrow doesn't land. Did that hit a creep?
It hit the creep right in front of him.
The cooldown will slow them. The Soul Assumption, though, they should be able to finish off How just before he turns to kill. Come with me. So that's a big old kill for Necroman. 609 gold going his way. Let's just have a look, actually. 1,400 gold going the way of BU across 2 heroes, the Visage and the Drow, with 1,000 experience as well. It's decent, but it's not the massive swing you would have loved, seeing as they're 15 to 2 down.
Definitely not. Like, it hasn't really accomplished. Of course, they get that kill on How. How just went a bit too aggressive, right? At this point, it does not matter too much, but who knows? If it happens a few more times, 2, 3, 10 times, then you
2, 3, 10?
you can potentially see that comeback coming into this game. But I'm not entirely sure. It's of course it helps them, right? But is it going to change anything at this point right now? No.
Oh,
not at
top
all.
lane, Ice, Fenrir and Super. There's the Ravage to slow things down as Paris turns back. The Gust, good, catches Super and he will get taken out as Minots and Paris looking for the chase as Ice backs up into the webs. The Familiars, can they get the stun onto Fenrir here? They do land one and the second. The follow-up is Minots. And Snare, no mana. He uses the Riptide just to get that minus armor, a bit of magical damage down. But Paris, no gush, no anything. And there's not going to be a chase. Take a look. Ice, he looped back around. He's going to nuke down, come with me, but the stick charges, no. Just the natural tankiness of Visage keeps him up.
He still is lurking around, though, trying to find another nuke onto him.
Where is the Visage now? Where is he TP'd out? No, he's still running back behind the tower. Was salved up and should be fine. Down at the bottom lane, though, How on the tier 2 tower, Phase Drums, Ring of Aquila, 1,300 gold. What kind of item build can you expect from this guy? It's not going to be a BKB rush, right?
You can go with a BKB, that's one obviously. The other than that, I think Manta is fine. We often actually see just an S and Y. I think Manta overall is not too bad though. I'm not sure if I remember correctly, there was a change onto the Ensnare, being able to perch it away. If I remember correctly.
I can't remember.
I know I read something about Ensnare in the last patch, and I think it had something to do with it being dodgeable or perchable. So it could be that Manta actually purchased that away. This is a bit in the open. I'm not entirely sure about it, but Manta in that sense, if it would do that, it would be a good item purchase.
Sure. FY, a little bit caught out here. If the Visage Familiar does land, he's going to dodge the arrow, but now put himself in a rough spot where Come With Me can stun him up, and Necroman will find this kill. FY taken out, and Burden with a couple of kills to their name, both on Necroman. He's got himself 3 Wraithbands, Treads, and Lifesteal. He's not looking too bad on this Drow Ranger, and that does amplify the rest of their team's damage. Like you mentioned in the draft, the Drow, as long as she gets time and space and levels, she's going to buff up this Mirana and Visage as well as these Familiars. And now Super, actually, with the Invis Rune, he should be okay. There's no dust or reveal over on Burden United, so he makes his way back. Now, Super's item build is one that we haven't really touched on.
And they do start on that Roshan.
Oh wow, that's
Indeed.
early.
I mean, it's not in terms of time, it's not early, right?
But progression of the game.
Yeah, and how the game progresses, you would be like, can they even do it at this point, right? And you can see you have the first rotation onto FY. He just set down that Observer Ward.
The arrow
Very
barely
close.
misses. Roshan.
But now they got a clue that, and they scout out with the Spiderlings that they are attempting that Roche. It looks like Burden United is still continuing going for that Roshan, and it's at half HP at this point.
Well,
But at the same time, you have Ice on the top lane, trying to pressure that lane, while Roshan is being taken by Burden.
do VG still want to fight into this? It doesn't look like it. How? Skittering around up on that high ground, and there's a mech done over on the Tidehunter, but yeah, Ice is looking up at him. Tier 3 taking damage already, 13 minutes into this game. Soshka did have the Ravage there around the Roche pit, so I think it was good that VG didn't go in for that. How? Soul Assumption to him, but he should be okay with the rest of his team coming in to back up. Fenrir, FY, and How. They've all got so many items, and how are we actually seeing what the Gyro's building into? 2,300 gold, hasn't made a decision yet, but someone who has is Ice Ice Ice. Midas, Necro 2, and he's 8.3k in terms of net worth. He is the highest farmed hero. He's got 2 towers to his name, he's got a whole bunch of creeps, and now full control of the Dire jungle.
And he just finished, or like, he's about to finish the book 3. He's not too far away, another 1k to finish that book 3. At about, he's probably going to get it around 16 minutes, I assume. And that's going to be a huge item purchase, just because he can contribute in these fights as well. Having a book 3 at this point, when you see how underfarmed everyone on the side of Burden United is huge.
What do we have for FY? Not too far away from the Yule Scepter, Voice Stone and Sage's Mask. Quelling Blade over on Ice Ice Ice, it looks like, being sent up to him. No, it's being sent back while he picks up his Necro 2. Songsky is getting a little bit of time to get into that Blink Dagger at middle lane. But you're just seeing tower after tower getting taken down by VG. There is one outer tower remaining. 14.5 minutes in. You know, I keep mentioning these time marks, but it's so quick from VG. Just taking down every single tower, and their lineup, we didn't look at this and think, hey look, they're going to push. They don't have natural sustain, they don't have something like a Chen. They've just got so many kills so early on that the map has opened up for them.
Like you were mentioning, I think it's just a factor how poorly the early game of Burden United went here, that they can literally not do anything about it. I'm actually a bit surprised by the Tidehunter going for that mech, just because I feel like they need a way to start the fight, right? And you know, you have that mech, you will not be able to jump anyone on the side of VG Gaming. I think one way they could start a fight is just having Naga level 6 and you try to open up with a sleep into a Ravage, right? But this will only work until they start having BKBs. And what do you do then? The initiation of the Tidehunter will not work anymore that way. So he has to get a dagger very soon, I feel, if they want to take a chance at fighting them whatsoever.
Yeah, maybe they are expecting VG just to sort of walk up into high ground and maybe just walk into this tier 2 where they'll find an opening. There are quite a few entryways for Sochka to get in here with a Ravage. You know, there's multiple avenues through the trees and from the fog to get in for a good opening. But the Broodmother up at top lane with Necro 3 done. How do you contest this push? You need Sochka to be sitting there, anchor smashing down these spiderlings and controlling the creep waves while the rest of your team is out farming the rest of the map. It's really difficult to zone in on that Broodmother while also not losing out on your other lanes.
Yeah, right now I think the only hero that can actually deal with a Book at this point is probably the Drow having an Aegis. He can obviously stop Book from, you know, just pushing into the tower, given the fact that he has this aura and is going to stop just because he deals too much damage. So the Book will just explode. But yes, it's so much damage at the same time. Where Joe having at a maximum 900, almost 1000 HP, if he kills the blue Book, he's just gonna explode. Like, he has to watch out as well. He has the Aegis right now, so he's safe from that, from dying. But as you can see on the bottom lane, Burden United is trying to push some objective here, and I feel like they need to make use of that Aegis, force a fight. They have a mech, and mech is one of those items. If you get a mech on Tidehunter, you know you need to try and fight.
What's the trade-off though? Tier 3 needed to be forted up and Ice 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 will back off. I just want to come back to the Moonlight Shadow though. Burden went for that sneaky little play. I'm not sure if this observer one actually spotted them out, but regardless, How was farming the jungle. He backed up at exactly the right time and they didn't find the pick-off they were wanting. Still get the tier 1 at bottom lane, but half HP down on that tier 3 up at top. And now they smoke up. VG looking for that gank onto someone. There are a couple of heroes here from Burden, a little bit far out. Sing Sing and Minuts. They don't have Moonlight, but they do have the song to try and, you know, reset the fight. Oh, there's no TP on Minuts, so the best case scenario here is save Sing Sing and maybe try and run away. FY and Venrir, the roaming supports. They're actually going for an aggressive play onto How. They might find it. He's in a good position though. Call down, not quite going to clip onto Minuts, and now Song. Resets fight, come with me. Almost dying to that second missile. Sing Sing and come with me. Time to bail the hell out. TP, run, whatever you can. Maybe give him, no! The arrow misses! Flies straight through Fenrir as the Song is still up, and they don't get that turnaround they wanted. Minuts now with no TP. Laguna Blade nuked, and probably just taken out.
They were not decisive on what to do there, but I feel like that the Naga as well as the Priest of the Moon just backed off. Yeah. There was no way of turning this fight around. They were trying to attempt an arrow into stun, like you just get that stun off. But what else is there? Like, it's the three poorest heroes that were sitting together. Almost, they're sharing the bottom of the net worth right now. There's no damage of them to kill off any of these heroes. One thing I like to mention is the way Vici moves around with their supports. I like it a lot, just given the fact that the two supports often just walk as a duo. These two heroes especially can kill any hero on the map alone. It's very interesting to see, but with Vici's, the way the supports move around, it's just the synergy. You see the synergy as is very strong between those two players.
Soxka has gone into the Guardian Greaves, so no blink. Actually, Hao starting things off. Good disruption saves him from that arrow that was flying in onto Hao, and with his BKB all done up, 1,500 gold in the bank, they'll look to pressure into this tier 3 as Ice is doing the same on top, takes the tier 3 up there. What is the defense plan here from Burden? What can they do to quell this advance? What can they do to stop the two BKBs? You look at the Shadow Fiend and Gyrocopter, they've got magic immunity, so that's, Ravage, Song, Arrow, Soul Assumption, all gone. Is it down to right clicks from Drow and the Mirana? Just starts off with the Yules and stun. Hao just walks in there. There is nothing. There is nothing to stop these core heroes from VG just advancing into their ranks. Top lane, Ice takes a ranged Rax of his own, and both lanes are falling slowly but surely. Now Burden tried to turn a fight, but Super with the Requiem. Paris down to half HP. Does Mech and Guardian Greaves himself up, but the turnaround just isn't coming out. Soxka, he's walking for... Is he looking for this Ravage? Is he expecting VG to turn and fight? Because they're not. They're just waiting on this high ground, ready and expecting.
I'm just looking. I'm so confused with these Guardian Greaves like the upgrade towards it, just because I look at the item and I don't know what the item gives me that it makes it worth purchasing on a Tidehunter at this point, especially when you're behind top lane.
Ice is just acting as a damage sink. He's actually going to take down Necroman here. 1 versus 3. Looking now for Come With Me. Not quite going to find it, but his Spiderlings will. Down back at bottom lane, though. Hao, FY, Fenrir, and Super say, thanks, Ice. You went 1 versus 3, while we can go 4 versus Rax. Taking down another lane and putting this game really out of reach of Burden right now.
And to me, it's just like going back, item purchases, especially at this point. I feel like the way Burden United had a chance of coming back, if at all, is they have to make plays with Tidehunter. He doesn't have to have a dagger, right? He just has to try to smoke up with a group and use Ravage. Like, if you want to come back at all, you need to find kills with Ravage. And I feel like Ravage was just underused. It wasn't used at all in this fight, or in this game rather, then given any fight they were participating in. He farms up Guardian Greaves, but what essentially gives Guardian Greaves to a Tidehunter? He already has a mechanism of debuffing, right? Like, he has Kraken Shell that has the similar effect of Guardian Greaves, just better because it works against stuns as well. And
Guardian Greaves is only on him, so if he's stunned, he can't use it.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Like, it doesn't work against stuns, but he can purge off debuffs. I'm not entirely sure which debuffs that are. I do not know, because I haven't gone through all of those. But it just seems so random to me, because they seem too expensive to purchase, especially when you're behind.
It's really reminiscent of that Ice Tidehunter game, where we were talking about exactly the same thing. He went for Mech and Arcanes. Fair enough, you've got the sustain, you can keep your team going. But you need the impact from the actual Blink Dagger, or... He went for a Glimmer Cape, which kind of gave him that for, a decent price.
He got tanky. The idea behind this is you get a bit more tanky as well, but it only effectively gets useful at 20% of your HP, where you get that armor boost.
And now Soxka, what can you do when you're stunned up and nuked down? FY rips him a new one as now they're going for the final lane of Rax. Necroman, the Flat Cannon, Light Strike Array, take down Minuts, and the rest of Burden on the retreat. Head back to the fountain, and it's time to call GG as VG take game number 1 in 22.5 minutes. That was a rout.
Yeah,
Indeed
it
was.
It was kind of what a lot of people would have expected from VG. And it is what we saw from VG yesterday as well, when they played against NIP. That really didn't give them too much space to make something happen. Now, looking at the draft in the first place, you weren't a big fan of the Naga. Please tell us why.
So I felt like the idea behind the draft for Burden United was okay, right? They do something unusual in that they're running a Mirana core, Sing Sing flavor, right? They needed to give something Sing Sing like that was going to catch Vici by surprise and also was a naturally strong hero for him. Same in line with the Kunkka that we saw earlier. I like the idea with the Draw Ranger as well. Makes the Mirana a lot more of a potent core position, and Draw Ranger lineups are relatively easy to execute in that they just like kind of snowball into towers and stuff. I felt like my biggest problem was that they needed some early game presence in order to get that ball rolling, and the Naga Siren doesn't really give it to you.
I think overall the hero composition that Burden United has is fine to me. On paper, it's okay. Besides the fact that I like to have a save with a Drow Ranger. I just feel like Drow Ranger needs that kind of save to make sure that, you know, the 200 extra damage that you potentially get can just diminish if Drow drops, right? So how do you save that if you have a save for Drow Ranger? That's the only point that I did not like. Other than that, the number one thing that stands out to me is Naga is a hero, especially with these heroes. You have a Naga Sleep into an arrow. You have a Naga Net into an arrow. You have a Tidehunter Ravage that works on a Naga Sleep. All these things, if you work around a Naga on a support position, you have to play this hero a lot of times to make it work properly. You see misplays, and it happened as well, right? Where they were trying to set up an arrow onto a sleep. It's just a small example, but it shows that if you don't play this combo very often, it's hard to execute. It's a very hard to execute combo. I think they had a lot of roaming potential to make stuff happen, but obviously, like, if you are 7 kills behind in 2 minutes, how do you come back?
Yeah, seeing as you're utilizing Naga Siren for that ultimate to set up all those different abilities, but it's such a long cooldown, you have to make sure that you're perfect on your execution. You can't afford to mess those up.
Well, let's see if Burden United can get back in the second game, as VG is taking the first one of this best of 3 series. The winner of the series will head on to face Team Empire in the grand final, which will be played in a best of 5 with a 1-game advantage for Team Empire. But before the winner is decided, we're going to head into a quick commercial break, so stay tuned.